We're back in the lab for a Saturday special of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, covering everything that you need to know on a big Saturday full of hockey. Matthews, Caps, Devils, and Cappy. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Saturday, hockey heads. It's the latest edition of your daily source for fantasy hockey news, betting breakdowns, and everything from the world of NHL hockey. The Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Salute to the everydayers. Shout out much love, and thank you for holding us down and making us your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Start the season big with a big return on FanDuel. New customers that place a $5 bet and hit get $150 in bonus bets. If that wager wins, visit FanDuel.com to get started. A little bit of a rough ride off the top here, Steele. Saturdays are a little bit busy right now, but hey, the NHL is just the same. So we've got a lot to talk about. And at this point in the season, we're really starting to get a feel for what's going on with some of these squads. New Jersey Devils, got to be spoken about. Washington Capitals, same thing. We got a Kaprizov record. This guy's cooking. I know you want to talk about that. Matthews update, and of course, bets. We got 12 games on tap tonight. Everybody loves Saturday in the hockey world, Steele. So over to you. I want to talk about these Washington Capitals and Logan Thompson.
Yeah, absolute incredible start with his new team. 10-1-1 record, 911 save percentage, 2.56 goals against average. This team has not faulted at all without Alexander Ovechkin in the lineup. They're still getting goal scoring from Tom Wilson, which has been vital to their success. Dylan Strome continues to show his skill set and playmaking abilities without Alex Ovechkin in the lineup. Connor McMichael continuing to do his thing. Trevor Van Riemsdyk has been a very, very bright spot on the blue line as well.
Sneaky.
Rasmus Sandin, John Carlson getting after it. Logan Thompson has to be the key factor here this entire season, as well as without Alexander Ovechkin in the lineup. I mean, the Washington Capitals just continue to roll on right now. It's absolutely incredible to see them have this success and see that the pieces they added really paying off dividends for this lineup. I know you still haven't really seen, a lot from Andrew Mangiapane. He's still helping with the depth scoring, 9 points on the season, but Pierre-Luc Dubois, 14 points, only 2 goals. Jacob Chikrin, 14 points. So a lot of these guys they brought in, plus that young character group in McMichael and Strome and Protas,
yes,
and all those guys, they're really paying off right now. They've really formed a culture of success so far this season, and especially with Ovechkin out of the lineup, it's been great to see. I mean, if you drafted Logan Thompson, I'm going to have to pull up his ADP because I don't have it on me right now, but Logan Thompson was definitely one of those guys you drafted in a 0G strategy later in the rounds. A guy that you waited for, on the back end. Maybe you get both of Logan Thompson and Charlie Lindgren as that duo for your goaltending
for sure
fantasy team. Nothing short of amazing so far this season for both Logan Thompson and a lot of those young guys they brought in, or young guys they have, and guys they brought in the offseason.
I appreciate that you also brought up Rasmus Sandin. Man, you crushed that little clip there. I really appreciate that. You're going to have to carry me on today's episode, I think, Steele. However, I think also Rasmus Sandin on the back end has been impressive for me. He's really stepped out. And when you mention everything that you just did, Chris Patrick in the front office, who replaced Brian McClellan in 2024, just in July, this is a bit of a masterclass of moves that have really come together nicely. And when you see what they've done without Ovechkin, you got the young guys. That blue line is so balanced and playing so well together. Jacob Chikrin, say what you will about the fantasy value and how much of an absolute nightmare he has been as a fantasy piece. He's looking very comfortable where he is in Washington now. And I'm going to go out and say it. Maybe I got the Saturday crazies. I think this team needs to start to be considered, especially if that goaltending can hold. And I know that might be a bit of a stretch for Charlie Lindgren and Logan Thompson, who might not be big names, but they are good goaltenders. This team, with Ovechkin healthy and clicking, needs to be considered a dark horse team for the Stanley Cup. They have all the makings of it. They got veteran presence. They've got that edge, and now they've got the blue line and goaltending. I'm going to say it early, Steele. This is going to catch a little bit of my money because that's some Ovechkin magic. If this team can somehow go on a run, one, it's going to be amazing for fantasy. This can go all season long, and two, it'd just be fun to watch because I think this team is starting to look very much for real.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking at them in a different light. You compare it to last year, struggling with the offense. Alex Ovechkin started clicking in the second half of the season, but overall, the lack of offensive punch and a punch from that group last season was difficult to watch, and it showed in the first round of the playoffs. They got swept against the New York Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
You bring in all these guys who are going to fill in those little holes, fill in that depth positioning, and really add value to the guys they had in the lineup right now. I mean, like I said, even though guys like Andrew Mangiapane aren't jumping off the page offensively right now, they're doing it in other ways, in other aspects of the game. 9 points in 23 games is still pretty solid for a guy like Mangiapane. Just mention this real quick. Logan Thompson's ADP this season was 198.9.
Wow.
That averages out to 18.5 rounds. So he was getting drafted after rounds 15, 16, 17. So if you're able to get this guy at that value, he might be one of the top 5 guys overachieving where they were drafted right now.
For sure.
How successful he's been this season. 10-1-1 record is phenomenal.
Charlie Lindgren, also a very good goaltender, and his numbers don't jump off the page, but it kind of holds true to your point. They're just getting it done. And with the Washington Capitals by committee on the blue line this year, they're at the bottom of the league in a good, they're at the top of the league, I should say, in least shots against allowed, 28 shots against per night. That's up there with the good teams in the league, the Panthers, Stars, and New Jersey Devils, who we'll talk about after the break. We're going to also talk about Kaprizov, but very quickly, Auston Matthews, back, baby. This is huge for the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is huge for fantasy owners. Not too much to say other than I think that they've one thing you can give the Leafs credit for. He better be ready to go. If this is what they've done and they've taken his time, I think he's going to be shot out of a cannon on Saturday night against Tampa Bay, and I think he's going to bring it. So that's good for fantasy owners. What's also been good for fantasy owners, and why don't you just take it away and we can continue it after the break, Steele, is how good Kirill Kaprizov has been. And I hope you have that stat up that you sent me, because when these records start getting broken and you're in the conversation of the players that he is, and I'll turn it over to you for that, we're going to talk about it. And again, speaking of which, I know Kaprizov was much, much way up higher that board in terms of draft position, obviously. If you got him this year, those are the kinds of teams, much like yourself in our competitive league. Nice week, by the way. I don't want to talk about that. You're up there in your standings this year because of how good Kaprizov has been. Over to you for this record, though, because it's nasty.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal, and we can touch on it a little bit more after the break as well. We'll get into the New Jersey Devils quietly atop of the Metro, and of course, Saturday bets at the end of the episode. But Kirill Kaprizov, for me, he's in the conversation for the Rocket Richard. He's in the conversation for the Hart Trophy.
Yes.
He is by far been the most vital player to a team's success so far this season. And I know when we look at guys around the league like Cale Makar, who just continue to impress everybody who watches hockey. Martin Necas has not slowed down whatsoever. Jack Eichel quietly doing his thing in Vegas as well. But Kirill Kaprizov, for me, when we talked about this Minnesota Wild team, they have always been an above average, mediocre team in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, middle of the pack.
Middle of the pack, bubble playoff team. They, inconsistencies, but consistently getting in the right direction. However, always falling short when they get to the postseason or just at the end of the regular season. However, the reason they are in this place right now this year is because of that man, Kirill Kaprizov, doing what he does best. And I'll bring that stat up when we come back after break. But
got it.
He's been phenomenal. Philip Gustafsson has been incredible in the cage. A bounce back season for him. They're getting some depth scoring and some more consistent play offensively from your boy Matt Boldy. Brock Faber has still yet to scratch the surface of where we think that he can be.
Good point.
So again, we talked about some of these guys jumping up, Jake Middleton being one of them. Obviously, Matt Zuccarello is out of the lineup, but he continues to still impress us with his playmaking ability. Nonetheless, Kirill Kaprizov has been a huge, vital part to their success so far this year.
and critical to raising the value of the fantasy pieces around him. Rossi, Zuccarello, even with the injuries, Matt Boldy, 8 of his points come on the power play, 4 power play goals, 4 power play assists. He just makes everyone around him better, Steele, and that's why I'm starting to really love him for the Hart, because that's what that trophy is, valuable to the team and to the pieces around him. We'll continue to talk about the Wild very quickly after the break. We won't leave you hanging on that stat or piece of history, we promise. We also got to talk about these New Jersey Devils, Steele. I don't think they're getting the credit that they deserve. Saturday bets will bring that fire. Been a big week for both of us. We'll keep it rolling. Where you want to be placing those bets, though, it's with our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers that bet $5 get $150 back in bonus bets if that bet hits. FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place bets on the NFL all in one place. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place those bets. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 wager hits. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Sports, theater, comedy, and of course, any music event near you. You can be checking out the Game Time app. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. You never want a stressful ticket buying experience for your next big event, and that's why Steele and I both love Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? Game time.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day. Continue to make sure you smash that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review, Flip it. I appreciate all that love and support. We couldn't be doing this podcast without you. So thank you so much for all that love we've been receiving all year long. We really do appreciate it. We hope everyone's getting ready for the holiday season. Hopefully everyone's making some cash with big time bets. We're going to get to that at the end of the episode like we always do. And once again, let's try to reach that goal of 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We've got just over a month to do so. We appreciate all of you out there. Make sure you share with your friends, family, and everyone you can about the podcast.
It's a holiday season, Steele. Sharing is caring.
Sharing
Everybody likes bets. Come on.
Yeah, we're just trying to show some love out there. We're trying to receive some love in return. So we appreciate it. We appreciate
reciprocal,
it.
baby.
Reciprocal is the word I'm looking for. We're going to get to the New Jersey Devils. And of course, like I said, big time bets, but real quick.
Hit me with that history piece.
Yeah. Kirill Kaprizov. It's been incredible. I mean, this guy just came onto the scene. They developed him. They grew him in the program, let him grow up and develop his game. And I saw this stat the other night, or actually last night. Most goals through first 300 career games among active players right now. At the top of the list, of course, we have the great 8, Alexander Ovechkin, with 204 goals. Then we have it followed up by Auston Matthews with 176. And then we have Kirill Kaprizov at number 3 among active players with 174. So even though he hasn't won a Rocket Richard yet, even though he hasn't been up there with Auston Matthews and Draisaitl and all those guys on a year, Sam Reinhart on a year-to-year basis recently, he has been consistently over the last 3 years, 40-plus goals. First season, I believe he had 27 and 55 games. He has 14 and 22 right now. He's second in the league with 36 points. He's a plus 17. This is an incredible player that I truly don't think gets enough credit for what he does to this Minnesota Wild organization. And I swear to God, they need to throw the entire bag at him for when his contract is next up and when they start negotiating. I know I'm seeing rumors out there for Mikko Rantanen wanting $14 million. I think Kirill Kaprizov is in the same price range, $14 million, 13 and a half. He is so vital to this organization. They cannot afford to lose him.
And to clarify, that's the most goals through 300 career games
Yeah, that's
of
what I said.
active players. So I just wanted to even frame it with that because it's even more impressive. So Ovi with 204, Matthews 176, Kaprizov 174, and he is almost 20 goals ahead of guys like Steven Stamkos and 50 goals ahead of Sidney Crosby. You really got to have that full stop moment. He's a fantasy darling. He's been making those guys around him much more fantasy relevant, and that's when you really have to pay attention to these pieces. The Minnesota Wild, though, I think this means they got to be buyers approaching the deadline that could get spicy for Billy G in that front office, which it was for Tom Fitzgerald in the New Jersey Devils front office over the offseason. And I don't think, Steele, nearly enough. Is anyone talking about Jesper Bratt with 30 points? No one's talking about this team. And what's really interesting to me is two things. The Stefan Nasons of the world, the Paul Cotters of the world, the Eric Hollas of the world, who have really balanced out this attack. Again, not getting enough love for obvious reasons there, but it's also guys like Luke Hughes has done nothing. Andre Palat has 6 points, and they're not even clicking. Simon Nemec has been completely irrelevant. I think he's dealt with some injuries, but anyway, what I'm trying to say is, and even in the cage, when I look at those numbers, Jacob Markstrom, yeah, he's made the saves when they really needed it, but 902 save percentage doesn't jump off the page. 2.62 goals against, pretty good, but that's also indicative of the blue line in front of him. What I'm trying to say is, this team is atop the division, and we haven't even seen their best hockey. So there's some interesting fantasy angles here, Jesper Bratt being one of them, but I think this team is very much for real. Just like I was talking about with the Capitals, there's going to be some really good teams on the outside looking in that East.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this team right now, besides a few players who have dealt with some injuries so far this season, they've been one of the healthiest teams in the National Hockey League. They have, I don't know, 10, 12 guys who have played all 26 games. Timo Meier's only missed one. Andre Palat's only missed one. Luke Hughes, obviously, dealing with that shoulder injury, I believe, at the end, beginning of the season. Brett Pesce as well. Those guys both came back from injury, but it's been a very healthy team. And the goaltending tandem of Jake Allen and Markstrom has been working out. This is a team that can score
Allen's been good
in a frenzy offensively, and we've been seeing that all season long. I think really the stepping out of Nico Hischier offensively has been incredible to their success so far this year.
Great point.
14 goals, 26 points in 26 games. I mean, this is a guy who's only hit 30-plus goals once in his career, and he's already on pace to absolutely smash that out of the park. So you got guys in Nico Hischier, again, a two-way forward who's considered to always be in the Selke conversation over the last couple of seasons, as well as really worked on his two-way game even more so now than we have before. Jesper Bratt, the way that he does it without Jack Hughes sometimes is really mind-boggling as well. I really thought that Jesper Bratt was one of those guys that depends on Jack Hughes or depends on Nico Hischier.
Yeah, he's
nasty. Have success. He does it himself. He's been incredible playmaking, showing his skill set all season long. Jack Hughes has come alive offensively over the last week and a half. I did say at the beginning of the season, I did not think, obviously with Dougie Hamilton coming back, being fully healthy, rehabbing over the season, doing all of those things that he needed to do, I didn't think Luke Hughes was going to jump off the page this year. I thought,
I did, and he's disappointed for sure.
Yeah, and it just happens again. He started the season injured. He tries to come back. Dougie Hamilton was already firing on all cylinders. He was doing great on quarterbacking the first power play unit. You get him some opportunity here and there, but Dougie Hamilton is the guy they rock with. 19 points in 26 games. He's been great. Like you said, Stefan Nason has been a vital addition to their team as well offensively. He really has jumped off the page. I mean, I don't remember a time when Stefan Nason, the highest, he had 37 points last season with the Carolina Hurricanes. He's already got 20 and 26. I mean, he's never played this
crazy.
He's never played this good in his life before. So just things are clicking right now for the New Jersey Devils. I will say once again, they have played the most amount of games in the Metropolitan Division. So guys, teams like the Washington Capitals, Carolina Hurricanes, New York Rangers, they have 3 to 4 games in hand on them, and they're only 1 point up. So they're sitting atop of the Metro right now, but those teams that I just mentioned, they're not far behind, and they have quite a few games in hand.
I think the blue line also deserves some love. You know, they're holding opponents right now to under 27 shots a night. That's 5th best in the NHL. That's been impressive for sure. And they're getting it done by committee with the scoring. So it's been the balanced attack and I think a really good start for the blue line. Because honestly, I know Markstrom, like I said, he's just been kind of ho-hum. He's getting the wins for you fantasy-wise, but, you know, numbers and shutouts and those kinds of things, he's kind of slacking a little bit. But I think they're going to be just fine. I'm excited to talk about bets. Juicy 12-game board tonight. There is no better night for betting in the hockey game than Saturday night, baby. Hockey night in Canada. Steele, let's get after it.
We're going to get after. We're going to get big-time bets. After the break, we've also got some breaking news as well for fantasy hockey realm. We're going to break that down and more after the break. But first, this episode is also brought to you by Built Rewards. Listen up, renters. Ever feel like you're stuck in this loop of rent payments, just watching your money vanish into thin air? It's time to turn that rent game around and start earning some serious rewards. That's where Built Rewards comes in. Built is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent every month. Pay your rent and watch the Built points roll in. Use points to jet off on a dream vacation. Put your points towards a flight or a hotel stay with 500 plus airlines and 700,000 hotels and properties. You can also use your points to book fitness studio classes, redeem them toward a future rent payment. They're designed to meet your lifestyle. Pay rent hassle-free through the Built Rewards app. Your rent game just got a major upgrade. Built Points has been consistently ranked the highest value point currency by the Point Guys and Bankrate. Earn points by paying rent right now when you go to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnhl. That's joinbilt.com/lockedonnhl. Make sure to use the URL so they know we sent you. Joinbuilt.com/lockedonnhl to start earning points with your rent payments today. And once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day. We've got some breaking news for the fantasy hockey realm. It's not jumping off the page, but this could be vital to some players and managers out there who are struggling in the goaltender category in that position right now. The Nashville Predators and the Colorado Avalanche have made a trade. The Colorado Avalanche have acquired goaltender Scott Wedgwood from the Nashville Predators in exchange for goaltender Justus Annunen and a 6th-round pick in the 2025 NHL draft. So obviously doesn't jump off the page for fantasy hockey goaltenders out there, but with the way Alexander Georgiev has played this year, the way Scott Wedgwood comes in sometimes as a backup goaltender and some, shows some real spurts of confidence and consistency, that could be a goaltender to keep your eye on out for the Colorado Avalanche, and the same thing for Justus Annunen in Nashville. So just a little bit of a slight change, but breaking news nonetheless.
Breaking news nonetheless, and interesting news nonetheless, because, for example, in our competitive league, goaltenders are hard to come by, and, I don't even know if Wedgwood was necessarily out there or not. This is intriguing, though, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of the Colorado Avalanche clearly trying to address a need in the cage and support and prop up what is maybe their biggest concern in terms of overall team success. It's Georgiev. So I understand this, and they had to pay a little extra, right, to get, I think, the better goaltender in this trade. But this is intriguing for me, Steele, because I think I might have to go out there. He's available in our competitive league. I think I might have to make a move here, Steele, and take a little shot on Scotty Wedgwood, because if he ends up getting some looks on a pretty good Colorado Avalanche team, he's going to be valuable moving forward in the fantasy game. Intriguing. Let's see how it pans out. However, I'm ready for these bets to pan out. And let's get a little bit of cash in the pocketbook. Christmas is coming up.
Christmas is coming up. We got to pay for these holiday fees. Lots of games on the board for Saturday. And I'm looking at all teams from the Eastern Conference right now. Okay. Number 1, Leafs Lightning under 6.5 in this matchup. I like that. You've got Anthony Stolarz. You've got Andrei Vasilevsky. You got Auston Matthews and Matthew Knies back in the lineup. This is a back-to-back situation for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They won that game 3-2 against the Nashville Predators last night. I'm feeling the under 6.5. When you look at the history and the numbers, it's typically over 6.5. 7 out of the last 10 have gone over 6.5. I just think this is a situation where it's going to be difficult to exactly say what Auston Matthews is going to be like in his first game back. Again, it's
very
a
true
situation For the Lightning, Andre Vasilevsky will be in the crease tonight, along whether it's Stolarz or Joseph Woll, we don't know yet. Regardless of that, I'm feeling the under 6.5 in this matchup. I still think it's going to be a great, intense game. 3-2, 4-2 situation. Squeezing one out there under 6.5. I'm following that up with the Panthers on the money line. This is a back-to-back situation against the Carolina Hurricanes. They lost on the road last night, 6-3. They're back in home in Florida against those Hurricanes once again. You get Spencer Knight in the crease. I don't know who's in the crease tonight for the Hurricanes.
I think it's Peretz. That's their. I think it's their third stringer or whoever the fourth stringer. Peretz, Yaniv Peretz. I think his name is.
I'm going with the Panthers on the money line in this situation. Again, it's going to be a great game to watch, but Panthers at home this time. I'm going with them.
I'm going to roll with a bit of a spice move here because I'm going to parlay all three of these picks together. And I understand that 6-3 last night is jumping off the page and might scare some people from taking the under, but I'm going to tease it up. I know that's less odds. I'm going to tease it up to 7.5 and take the under and smash it together with my other two picks. And considering my other two picks, you're going to get a pretty good payout here, at least double your money. And that's all I'm looking to do right now, Steele, trying to stack this brick by brick. Yaniv Peretz could be in the cage, but honestly, what happens a lot in hockey when these guys come into the cage out of the AHL with very little experience, what happens? The blue line really steps up and the forward group tries to clamp it down. And I also think, given both Rod Brind'Amour and Paul Maurice's kind of track record, both of these teams will be better defensively today after what got a little bit away from them the night before. So what I'm trying to get at here, Steele, is also two teams that are very tough to play against at an afternoon game. All of this is screaming under, so teasing it to 7.5 and taking the under. I'm also taking the Kings on the money line. If you're okay, I'll just spit this out super quick. Kings on the money line at home against the Ottawa Senators. The LA Kings, 6-1-3 in their last 10 against the Ottawa Senators. I really like what the Senators have done in the last two games to try and turn it around. Two gutsy wins against Calgary and San Jose, but I like the Kings at home and what they've been doing in my lock of the night. Connor McDavid's been cooking once again, Steele, and it's been hitting for me all year long, and I'm going back to your playbook. McDavid, 2+ anytime points. I think he has a big night, something that he has done in his career. Well, I got this somewhere. Tab Madness getting me again. Edmonton into Colorado tonight, Steele, who we know have had their pains. They just allowed 6 goals last night to the Dallas Stars. McDavid, 2+ points because in his career in 21 games, 34 points against the Colorado Avalanche. That's my lock of the night.
Absolutely loving all three of those picks. You know I'm hammering those with you by your side. My lock of the night and last pick, I'm going with the Devils and Capitals over 6.5 in this matchup right now. Over 5.5 in this matchup right now. I'm teasing it down to the over 5.5. 8 out of the last 10 have gone over 5.5. Currently, it's at +104 for over 6.5. So you're going to get a lesser of an odd, but it's a little bit safer. I think both teams right now, they're firing offensively. You're seeing some great things in the offensive zone from the Devils and the Washington Capitals, especially without Alexander Ovechkin. So once again, Leafs Lightning under 6.5, Panthers on the money line, and the Devils Capitals over 5.5. All three picks. That's also the lock of the night.
I like it, Steele. Let's have a big Saturday, baby. Shout out to everybody tapping into the pod.
Tapping in and making it your first listen every single day. We really do appreciate it. So thank you so much for all that love and support. For your second listen, you got to make sure you go check out the Locked On NHL podcast. Special things are being done across the network. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. From both Flip and I, we wish you enjoy your weekend. Get ready for the holiday season. Start making some extra loot so you can pay for those presents for everybody you love, friends and family and anyone else out there. And we shall see you back here again on Monday for the Waiver Wire Targets.
Peace.